till I find a girl.
Not every love arrives with fanfare or sweeping words or perfect timing. Some loves simply find their way into an ordinary evening, a shared meal, a soft laugh, and a moment that quickly changes everything. In a small, unplanned gathering, with salmon on the table and strangers becoming friends, two lives paused long enough to recognise each other. And in that gentle instant, Cheryl and Philip began a story neither of them could have written alone. It grew in laughter, in easy companionship, in long conversations and steady trust. It climbed its way into something stronger still, up winding paths and into open skies, until, standing together on Bluff Knoll, love was no longer a question, but a shared horizon. Cheryl loved deeply. She lived kindly. She carried a calm strength within her, a quiet courage, a steady heart, and a warmth that made space for others to belong. Her laughter, that light and beautiful giggle, could lift a heavy moment. Her gentleness could soften a difficult day. Her love could make even the hardest seasons bearable. And today, we honour not only the life she lived, but the love she gave, especially the love she shared with Philip, a love faithful in sunshine and in storms, in ordinary days and extraordinary challenges. For in the end, it is love that tells her story best. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, and thank you so much for being here today. On behalf of her beautiful husband, Philip, her parents, Margaret and Charles, and her brother, Lyndon, sister-in-law, Sandy, and the wider Haines family, I welcome you to this celebration of the life of Cheryl Angela Lee Haines. I also welcome all those who are viewing online, having been unable to join us here today. We gather here in this beautiful chapel, not around a coffin, and not for a formal committal, but for something just as important, a time to come together to remember Cheryl's life, her character, her humour, her strength, and the many ways she touched the people around her. Today is not only about loss, it is also about love, about gratitude, and about holding close the memories that will remain long after today. You are all here today because Cheryl mattered. She mattered deeply to her family, to her parents, to her brother, and to the wider family who shaped and shared her early life. She mattered profoundly to Philip, her partner, her companion, her great love, and her greatest supporter. She mattered to you, her friends, to Rachel and to Judy, and to many others who knew her across different seasons of her life. and she mattered greatly to her colleagues, her team and her workplace family at Botanical Resources Australia. Today we give ourselves permission to feel whatever comes. Tears are welcome, laughter is welcome, quiet reflection is welcome. There is no right way to grieve and no single way to remember a life as rich and full as Cheryl's. Cheryl was born on the 28th of January 1962 and grew up here on the northwest coast of Tasmania in the Somerset and Burnie areas. She attended primary school in Somerset and later went on to Burnie High School. From early on, there was a quiet determination about Cheryl, a steadiness that people would later come to rely on. Life was not always gentle with her. Throughout the years, she faced a number of serious health challenges, and in the final 6 months of her life, she was confronted with the devastating diagnosis of stage 4 brain cancer. And yet again and again, those closest to her speak of the same thing. Cheryl remained positive. She remained practical. She remained quietly brave. She did not define herself by her illness. She defined herself by how she lived. Strong, stoic, grounded, and always with that wonderful sense of humour that could still find lightness in difficult places. As a girl, she dearly loved animals. She had a much-loved horse named Honey, and for a long time she dreamed of becoming a vet. She spent many happy days helping her dad looking after the sheep, chickens and rabbits. And that love of animals never left her. In later years, it was her cats who filled her heart and her home. She adored Hudson, who sadly passed away, and she absolutely treasured her 2 beautiful cats, Lourdes and Oscar, who became constant companions and a very special part of her daily life. Cheryl also loved flowers, especially roses, and lilies too, but roses were her passion. Roses today are the perfect symbol for Cheryl. She was also active and competitive, playing hockey during her school years and opening the batting for the first ever Tasmanian women's cricket team in the late 70s. And the book here on the table will show you part of that. Creativity became another important part of who Cheryl was. Her needlework, her crafts, her beautiful watercolour paintings of gentle landscapes, and her carefully made pom-pom Christmas tree decorations revealed a softer, reflective side to a woman who was otherwise known for her strength and practicality. And again, there are examples of those on the table for you to admire later. And she loved cooking. She loved cooking shows on the television, and she loved feeding the people around her. At BRA, Cheryl became famous for her almond cake, so much so that many there say it will always be remembered as Cheryl's cake, brought in again and again for morning tea and shared with quiet generosity. After finishing at Burnie High, Cheryl went on to university in Launceston. It was there that she met one of her dearest friends, Rachel, a friendship that would last for decades. So close were they that Cheryl stood beside Rachel as a bridesmaid at her wedding. Her first full-time position was with A&L Shipping between the years 1986 and 1995, in which time she also graduated with an Associate Diploma of Accounting. Here she met her great friend John Beattie and his wife Karen, and they remained friends for the next 40 years. And this is where Philip remembered one of Cheryl's most delightfully quirky stories. There was a particular woman who rang the A&L office regularly, a notoriously difficult and rather cranky caller who also happened to run a very colourful business arranging companionship for visiting sailors when ships came into port. While others would groan when the phone rang, Cheryl secretly enjoyed those calls. She found great amusement in handling the chaos calmly and professionally, navigating those conversations with courtesy, clarity, and just a hint of private laughter once the call was over. It was classic Cheryl, unflappable, kind, highly capable, and quietly amused by the oddities of life. From A&L shipping, Cheryl moved on to accounting roles at the Mersey General Hospital. It was there that another lifelong friendship was formed, this time with Judy. Rachel and Judy would become two of the constant and most treasured friendships in Cheryl's life, and both will share their own memories shortly. Cheryl's longest and most significant professional chapter was with Botanical Resources Australia, where she worked for 25 years. She rose to the role of accounts manager and financial supervisor, leading a highly capable team. She was clever, hardworking, deeply knowledgeable, and highly respected. She was not afraid of difficult conversations. She could be firm, she could be robust, but she was always fair, always logical, and always able to explain the reasons behind her decisions. She led with strength, not ego. Her team knew she genuinely cared about them, and the management of BRA knew exactly what kind of professional they had in Cheryl: loyal, dependable, and utterly committed. As you would all know, Cheryl had exquisite fashion taste and had many beautiful garments, courtesy of her wonderful friends at Taking Shape in the Devonport Mall. At times, she strutted the catwalk, looking fabulous in a variety of outfits, totally enjoying the connection with the business and her great friends that ran it. At the time of her diagnosis, Cheryl had only just retired, using long service leave to take her through to the end of the financial year. After decades of giving so much of herself to her work, she was finally stepping into a new season, one she truly deserved. Stepping back a little, when she was about 8 and her brother Lyndon was about 6, they were involved in a serious car accident while travelling with their grandparents, Doreen and Les. Lyndon was badly injured but recovered and later went on to serve in the army as a mechanic. He continued in the army for 10 years, retiring in 1990, and later settled in Queensland with his wife Sandy. Cheryl remained close to home and remained close to her grandmother Doreen. As Doreen's dementia progressed, it was Cheryl who quietly and faithfully continued to care for her. When Doreen passed away, Cheryl chose to take a brave step for herself. She travelled. She went around Europe. She embraced experience. She gathered stories, and she truly lived. In late 2007, life introduced her to Philip. Philip had recently arrived from Western Australia and found himself one evening at the Penguin Hotel. There he met a new acquaintance, Paul, who invited him back to his place for a few more beers. Philip accepted, and when he arrived, Cheryl was there. She had cooked salmon. The evening was warm and relaxed, and there was, quite simply, instant chemistry. Paul, watching what was unfolding, teased Philip gently and asked, "Are you going to get her number or what?" He did, and the rest, as they say, was history. By May 2008, their relationship was firmly and happily established. Not long after, Cheryl travelled with Philip back to Western Australia and down to Albany. Together, they climbed Bluff Knoll. There is a photograph of them standing at the summit, a quiet but powerful moment marking the deepening of their love. For Cheryl and Philip, that climb became a beautiful symbol of how they would walk through life together, side by side, steady and strong. Between the years 2011 and 2014, they travelled to the Cook Islands and Fiji, making wonderful memories. Those who loved Cheryl describe her in very simple, very powerful words. She was loving, she was clever, she was strong and stoic, she was hard-working, and she was selfless. There was always a sense of calm and ease about her. She also had her wonderful quirks. She loved tennis, and especially Rafa Nadal. Whenever he was playing, and particularly when he was winning, Cheryl's cheerful call of "Go, Nad!" became a familiar and much-loved sound to those around her. And then there was her giggle, an infectious, light-hearted giggle that could catch others by surprise and often had everyone else laughing too. She truly was a beautiful soul. As I said earlier, Cheryl loved flowers, and above all, she loved roses. In a deeply personal and tender gesture, Philip has purchased roses for you all today. At the conclusion of your time here in the chapel, each of you is invited to take a rose with you in memory of Cheryl. A single rose to remind you of her beauty, her kindness, her courage, and the love that she leaves behind. Close friends have written tributes to Cheryl for this afternoon, and I am deeply honoured to present them on their behalf. As you listen, I invite you to receive these words not simply as stories, but as gifts of memory offered with love. The first is from her brother and sister-in-law, Lyndon and Sandy. They have written, "Sandy was very excited that she was to have a sister-in-law, having not had a sister growing up. Whilst living in Brisbane, each time we flew down to visit, Cheryl would be front row at the arrivals lounge, excitingly jumping up and down with a bunch of flowers and lots of hugs waiting. She never failed to make us feel welcome. She had such a generous heart, and nothing was ever too much trouble. I recall around the time she met Phil, her joy for life was even more intense. We were both so happy to see her find the love of her life and someone who loved her and cared for her so much, especially in these last few months. Cheryl was a doer. When we visited and then when we moved down to Tassie in 2007, Cheryl would always have some activity, place to visit, or just a walk to the local parks organised. You could never be bored in her company. We both very much appreciated the care and help she gave her parents, Margaret and Charles, and before that, her grandparents, Doreen and Les. She would visit often, taking them on outings and help out with whatever needed doing. Once she met Phil, he would join her in those visits and outings, and they were the main contributors to helping Charlie at his block when it needed tidying up to sell. Charlie, Lyndon and Phil would be pulling out machinery from blackberry bushes or pulling down old rickety sheds, while Cheryl and Sandy kept them fed and hydrated and kept lookout in case Charlie climbed up on one of those rickety sheds, which he often did. Cheryl was special. Her heart was huge, her laugh was contagious. She will be remembered very fondly by us and the boys, and we will miss her very much. Thanks for the good times, the belly laughs, and for sharing your love of life. Rest in peace, our beautiful sister and auntie. And from her Auntie Sue and family, some memories. Cheryl's cousin Jo reminisced about her holidays with Cheryl. When they were about 8 years old, they would run the servo, pumping fuel and serving customers for Uncle Charlie at his Somerset service station. Spending summer days at the Cam River, they would swing on a tyre which was tied to a big old tree. They would jump from the tyre into the middle of the river. Kim says how she loved running into her cousin Cheryl on her supermarket visits. They caught up on family news, intertwined with lots of hugs. At one stage, Cheryl had to rescue Kim as groceries crashed to the floor when the bag collapsed after all that talking. It was so hard to say goodbye whenever they met up. It was a special joy for Kim to take Phil and Cheryl up the river on her Leven River cruise boat. Chris, as a young boy, remembers having great fun racing down the Roger River Hill with Cheryl and his cousins on old car bonnets. It took at least 5 people to drag the bonnet up the hill. Then on they all hopped, but not many made it all the way to the bottom. This fun took place at Uncle Graydon's house, which was on Uncle Morris's farm, where all these crazy cousins spent many fun times climbing hay bales in the huge barn and to the top of the old tall pine trees lining the driveway. And he says clearly remembers Cheryl as a teenager, loving her holidays on the farm. In recent years, Don and Cess enjoyed visits from Cheryl and Phil to Lagana, admiring the view over a cuppa. Cess remembers the long summer school holidays at Nana's house when many of Nana's grandchildren would come to stay. Among them would be Cheryl and her brother Lyndon. Nana's mum, who we all called Little Gran, would often be there too. There would frequently be peeps of laughter with tears running down her cheeks as we preserved fruit from Pop's garden and made delightful smelling tomato relish. Auntie Ray remembers the fun when the grandchildren walked into the kitchen demanding a slice of fresh bread smothered with homemade butter and relish. Yum. Some of our family reunions were organised by Cheryl and her cousins. We would meet in a park central to most, settle down for a chat and shared picnic on the grass. Then came the family photo shoot, which was just the best, as the now older generation would hear Cheryl's voice saying, "Have a chair." Then the cousins would bring chairs. Everyone else would be gathered behind their seated old aunties and uncles for a great family photo, amidst, of course, boisterous laughter. Uncle Robert and Auntie Sue looked forward to Phil and Cheryl coming to Smithton on one of their frequent visits to Stanley, with conversations over meals or just a cuppa. It was a real delight to see them every time they came. When Robert and Sue's daughter Anne married at Stanley, Cheryl was especially delighted to be an invited guest to a wedding never to be forgotten. During the ceremony, Phil's shirt was oiled by an old church pew. Cheryl had to quickly launder it at their accommodation before returning to the wedding and dancing the night away. When Sue moved to Ulverston, the fun really began. Outings with Cheryl, food in each other's homes, and just an impromptu pop-in. Life was always so great when Cheryl was around. And from her dear friend Judy, a friend like Cheryl is a friend for life and beyond. I first met Cheryl while working at Mersey Community Hospital in Latrobe. Oh, what fun we had, working over the corridor from each other. Her laugh was infectious and her smile lit up the room. Don't think I ever heard Cheryl say a bad word about anyone. Always cool, calm and collected. Cheryl was always there for me. She had my back. One time I had been bullied and had to see a human resource person in Launceston. Cheryl took the time off to come with me for support. She had to wait in the waiting room for at least 2 hours, and by the time I came out, she was having a lovely little snooze in the chair. The receptionist made a point of telling me that she had been snoring, but we didn't care. As it turned out, I received a glowing report from HR. Thank you, Cheryl. A friend indeed. It was very sad when Cheryl went on to work at Botanical Resources. Mersey's loss, Botanical's gain, but we remain friends for life. You just know when a friend sticks by you through thick and thin, they are a friend for life. Cheryl loved my family and extended family. Many good times were had. My 3 children loved that I, being a sole parent, had someone to rely on when the chips were down. They are terribly saddened by her loss. There is a great void in our lives to fill now. Cheryl has seen me make a couple of mistakes with my choice of partners. Always words of wisdom came through, which I needed to hear, so rightly so. Cheryl even had a hand in my husband Tony's proposal on Daydream Island in 2008. It was after my daughter's wedding. I think Tony and Cheryl must have teed it up unbeknownst to me. We were on the coral beach and Tony went down on one knee to propose, and Cheryl just happened to have a pair of jeans for Tony to kneel on. Very thoughtful, I thought. Anyway, I said yes, and the rest is history. A funny story about Tone and Cheryl that I love is that I had warned Cheryl Tone was a little fussy, being ex-army. So when we visited one day, we were having a cuppa and Cheryl casually flipped her biscuit crumbs onto the floor. The horrified look on Tone's face was classic, and I can still hear Cheryl's chuckle. We quite often laughed about that. Tone knew he had met his match that day. He has lost one of his great mates too in Cheryl. I could go on, but I hope this gives you an understanding of how much we are missing you, Cheryl. And from her great friend Rachel, my dear friend Cheryl, where do I start? I know you used to love working alongside your dad on the land, and you also picked up fine cookery skills from your mum. Cheryl was very stylish. In creative areas of her life, she had a great sense of what worked, not only for herself, but for others too. Out of home, seldom would anyone see Cheryl without beautifully cut hair and well put together outfits. But there is one humorous exception from many years ago that I must share. When Cheryl was first pursuing a career, she attended the Tasmanian College of Advanced Education in Launceston. It was not long before it was made a campus of Tasmania Uni. Like many other students in her particular year, finances were tight. They had made huge cutbacks for the students that year. Cheryl was studying teaching. Accommodation fees on campus at Kerslake Hall left students living with very little to spend each fortnight. Students usually carpooled and arranged trips home at the weekends. Like most others, she would regularly go home. She would often return with large containers filled with delicious food her mother had cooked. No doubt this eased the difficulties of coping with so little money. As students, they could catch a bus into the city and, if nothing else, enjoy the different sights and goings-on in the city. In those days, the mall was a very busy place. On one such outing, the ballet happened to be on. Dressed in trachydacks and sloppy tops and thongs, they found out about it and wondered if there were any cheap seats. They ended up in the front row. After being seated, she remembered that the teacher who was supervising her first classroom prac loved ballet, and she started to panic that she might get caught. And yes, they were. Cheryl's prac teacher was there dressed up to the nines, and she saw them. For Cheryl, a very, very rare situation to be at an event without being totally dressed up for the occasion. Imagine how horrifying that was for her. As with so many other times, Cheryl was quick to see the humorous side of things. Time with her was so often marked with laughter, often double-you-up contagious laughter. In the montage that we'll see shortly, there's a picture of her launching herself like an AFL footballer to catch a bride's bouquet. She can already see the hilarious side of it, and all around her, others are laughing too. But she was determined to get that bouquet because she wanted to have it dried out as a keepsake for the married couple. She was very artistic and creative, and this was evident so often in her life. She enjoyed embroidery and hand needlework and was still doing so right up to recent days. Her grandmother loved ballroom dancing, and Cheryl had loved studying her glamorous dresses, the fabric, design and needlework. When she lived in Coronet Street in Penguin, her weatherboard house was a constant testament to her creative nature. If she had a large sample of curtaining, she didn't do what most of us would do and throw it over the curtain rod and stand back and look at it. Not Cheryl. She would drape it so stylishly that you could think it could be featured in an expensive magazine. Often there would be a few big patches of paint in a particular room. She knew what effect she was after and was very particular about getting the right colour to achieve it. She loved paintings, and these featured on the walls in that home. It was while she was in Penguin that Phil became part of her life. She had previously renovated her home, with her dear dad often providing the help where it was required. But now, with Phil's help, further changes were made. Phil and Cheryl shared many interests. In her younger days, Cheryl enjoyed playing hockey, but in more recent years, she had preferred swimming. She and Phil loved swimming at Johnson's Beach at Penguin and at Turner's Beach. As said earlier, she travelled to Europe in her younger days. She had learnt some of the Spanish language and could recall some French from her high school years. She enjoyed sampling different foods there, including one which was cooked in ink, spaghetti cooked in ink. More recently, she had enjoyed shorter trips to New Zealand and to the mainland with Phil. It seemed to those who knew Cheryl that Phil had really added to Cheryl's zest to go and explore places, even mountain climbing in Western Australia. They also shared a love of live music and enjoyed attending concerts, including tribute bands. Another shared passion was the cats in their lives, with Oscar being the latest addition to their household. Cheryl was simply amazing with animals. At Coronet Street, she owned a fish. That fish lived to such a ripe old age Few of us even knew that fish could live that long. The cats trusted and loved her so much. She had no trouble trimming their claws and could even put one of the cats in a bag and swing it like a hammock, and the cat just loved it. Cheryl was very kind to animals. Even the sparrows in her back garden were not neglected. She was a great cook, and her animals often received morsels of what she'd prepared, and one wonders if this variety added to their diet, plus the happiness of the animals, contributed to their longevity. In her student days, Cheryl had seriously considered being a vet. She thought she might work with horses, and the decision whether to work with large animals or not bothered her to some extent. She chose teaching for a while before deciding to study accountancy instead. Cheryl was intelligent, perceptive, and a great listener. She would find out what was happening in situations and do what she could to help. She was very sensible and very practical. These skills, combined with her accounting and business skills, probably formed the backbone of most of her employment for years. She enjoyed many years at Botanical Resources. She retired last year and has since been able to enjoy more time with her beloved Phil. All those who knew Cheryl will surely miss her. Her loss will certainly be felt by many, no doubt particularly by Phil and the boys at home, Lewis and Oscar. We have lost a dear and wonderful friend far too soon. Beautiful tributes. I'll pause. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward to share a story or a memory? Yep, would you like to come forward? I will hop down gently.
Thank you. I'm James Baldock. I work for Botanical Resources, as you've mentioned quite a bit. I met Cheryl 5 years ago in my role at BRA. I guess I was a young upstart at that stage and walked into a role that maybe I didn't think I was ready for. Might have been trying to think to myself, fake it before you make it. But looking backwards, probably that wasn't entirely all true. What I was thinking in my mind at that time was that I needed support, and I didn't have to ask because it was there before day one. I think it was 2 weeks prior to me starting. Cheryl had reached out via email, and then when I got there it was all laid out, and that experience was the same for everybody, and I think the summary that you've given and everybody else today is entirely accurate, as accurate a reflection of a person that I can remember at one of these events. We're all here because I think for basically one reason: at some point you felt supported by Cheryl, and I can tell you through my own experience with her that the feeling was mutual, in that each and every one of you would have supported her at one time or another. The other thing about Cheryl that hasn't been mentioned, and goes back to everybody here today, she was probably one of the greatest judges of character that I've ever met. I've seen her in job interviews, and it's something that I'll take with me forever in whatever I do. Everybody gets wrapped up in position descriptions and skills, experience and all those things. She would see through all of those and pick the person behind the heart and the head, and she would fight for those people tooth and nail, and quite often get away. And I'll take that with me forever. 23 years of Cheryl's life was at BRA. Not that frequent now. It is in this area of the country, and the sense of community is great, and I love it. She was certainly a well-valued part of our community and helped build it to what it is today. Just a couple of little fun stories that also reflect to Cheryl's character along the way that I've had shared with me. I wasn't there for those, but just goes to show the strength she had as a person when everything else was failing around her, that she would be the one that stood up and help others. There was one particular, I think Tuesday night, Yuta is here, very valued friend and colleague, that a certain contractor was working on a roofing job in the office, and everybody else going home, knocking off Tuesday night. You've got busy life to get back to and everything to do. Cheryl was staying back to supervise to make sure everything was okay before she locked up. Because there was a 50% chance of bad weather. The contractor assured her that bad weather wouldn't come around, and they'd checked every forecast known to man. Now that room housed our server at the time, and if you don't know what a server is, that's the big computer. Most of us carry one around in our pocket nowadays. That's your smartphone. And if that disappears on us at a minute's notice, life looks a lot different, right? So we go from probably cool, calm and collected, for those that have it, to life's in disarray, right? Well, that was business back then. One big computer. We had touch points on every continent in the world. Early days of email, and so that room was quite valued and important for communication to all our good friends internationally that enjoyed our product. And because Cheryl stayed back, she knew what was going on. Well, the weather turned up overnight, and so she was first in with Yuta, and the tarp that had been put in place was under significant stress. Between the two of them, they held this tarp up for as long as they could, but diverted all the water away from the computer. And so when I say you lose your smartphone, you probably lose 3 months of organisation in your life. That's what it would have looked like to our business. So, yeah, she was there to support us, and that's a really big event for us. Another time was when BRA required some aerial photography. We didn't have drones at our disposal 20 years ago, and everybody else didn't want to go up in a single-engine aircraft towards mountains and other things. Well, Cheryl volunteered with Ben and took all the photos that went in to make some of the history of BRA and also some of the learnings. Yep, absolutely fantastic person, well supported by Phil, and definitely sorely missed by everybody in this room, but particularly in our team. So thank you again for everybody that has written in and for that summary. It was just a great, great reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, James. You've highlighted some excellent aspects of Cheryl, that intuition that she had for people and their character, and that willingness to have a go and do anything to support others. Anybody else? I'm sure there'll be lots of stories and memories recounted over a cuppa later. So we'll have a break from listening now and we'll watch a photographic journey through Cheryl's life. As these images unfold, may they remind us not only how Cheryl looked, but how she lived. Her travels, her creativity, her cats and her flowers, her friendships and her work, and the many quiet moments that definitely shaped who she was. Enjoy.
That's what you are.
Unforgettable, though near or far.
Like a song of love that clings to me. how the thought of you does things to me never before has someone been there.
Unforgettable in every way,
and forevermore, that's how you'll stay.
that's how you'll stay.
That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable
Thinks that I am unforgettable too. Thinks that I am unforgettable too.
When I fall in love, it will be forever, or I'll never fall in love. In a restless world like this is, love is ended before it's begun, and too many moonlight kisses seem to cool in the warmth of the sun. When I give my heart, it will be completely, or I'll never give my heart. And the moment I can feel that you feel that way too is when I fall in love with you. the moment I can feel that you feel that way too, is when I fall in love with you.
How beautiful, beautiful inside and out. That lovely, lovely smile. You all have so many wonderful memories. Cheryl's life was shaped by many people, experiences, and beliefs. In a spirit of unity and respect for the faith and comfort that prayer brings to many, I now invite those who wish to join together with me in the Lord's Prayer, spoken in the form that is familiar and meaningful to you. Would you please bow your head? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Before we leave this place today, let us pause for a final blessing for Cheryl and for all who love her. May the love Cheryl gave so freely continue to echo through the lives of those she leaves behind. May her courage inspire quiet strength in difficult days. May her humour and that unforgettable giggle remind us not to take life too seriously. May her creativity encourage us to notice beauty in ordinary places. May Phil be surrounded by comfort, companionship, and care. May Margaret and Charles be gently held in the knowledge of how deeply their daughter was loved. And may Lyndon know that his sister's loyalty and pride in him never wavered. And now, with Cheryl's long struggle finally over, may we hold this gentle truth in our hearts. She is at peace. She is pain-free. She is free from the challenges that shaped so much of her life. May each of us, as we leave today, carry a special small part of Cheryl's spirit with us, in kindness, in patience, and in the simple grace of showing up for one another, and, of course, in the rose that you will take with you. Thank you all sincerely for coming to celebrate the life of Cheryl Angela Lee Haines. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So true, funny how it seems, always in time, but never in line for dreams. Head over heels, went toe to toe. This is the sound of my soul. This is the sound Listen